Starting in October, the Library Trustees put together an extensive plan requesting qualifications for a qualified architect. Through extensive interviewing and reference checking, we decided on the firm of LaValle Renzinger Architects. From the firm, Ron Lamar has been hired as our architect and has worked with us over the last several months to design a wonderful plan that you'll learn about in the following moments. I'd like to introduce Ron Lamar, our project architect.
Thanks, Sarah. What we want to do over the next several minutes is walk you through a PowerPoint presentation that will explain everything that we did in terms of designing this building for Kingston. We started out essentially with the plan from the library trustees of how they wanted to go about to design a cost-effective, energy-efficient, yet signature building for the town of Kingston that could take the place of the existing library and stand on its own as yet another building that may become, in someday, a historic building to add to the historic buildings of Kingston. We started with the Kingston architecture. The first thing we wanted to look at was the Kingston master plan presented to the town in 2007. It was very important to the trustees, and they wanted us to understand very clearly that in every community survey undertaking, the residents expressed the desire to protect Kingston's rural character. There was also nearly a threefold increase in the acres of land utilized for residential purposes between 1962 and 1998, which in fact proved that the town was growing by leaps and bounds. The town of Kingston has a diverse stock of historic structures throughout the town, and preservation of these resources has a very high local priority. The mission given to us by the library trustees was to provide a signature building with a strong presence consistent with Kingston architecture, to create library space that reaches out to all members of the community, and to optimize the building orientation for sustainability and energy efficiency. The goal was to get a cost-effective design that incorporates green systems and sustainability principles. The new library must have a substantial community presence with a clear, convenient, and identifiable entrance. One of our first tasks was to review the Kingston architecture. One of the things that we noticed immediately was the use of masonry. Brick on some buildings, as you see here in the seminary, with columns that offset the entrance. The town hall also continues the motif, if you will, of brick, masonry materials with columns accenting the entrance. This is also recognized throughout the town in terms of setting off the entrance with a tower, like here in the church. Again, steeples in this church here, but the materials have changed to clapboards and wood siding. The Masonic temple also has columns that offset the entrance, and here you can see the columns turn into pilasters and then clapboards on the building itself. The town store and many of the residences around Kingston have columns that accent the entrance. So we've got these farmers' porches with columns that you see here in this picture as well. These photographs also show a lot of glass at the entrances to give sort of a warm feeling and to let daylight into the buildings. We last came to the Kingston Library, which is obviously the Nichols Library, in its use of stone and the character of the building on the outside, setting off the entrance, not so much with columns, but again, sort of balanced with those piers on the side of each door. The character of the building itself, from the entrance to the interior, is something that we wanted to bring into the new building, which was important to the town. As you see here in the picture to the right, the beautiful building of the Nichols Library, you really can't use these wonderful spaces because of the overcrowding. The character of the building in terms of the ceilings and the spatial environment is again something that we wanted to bring into the new library, but obviously in a less crowded manner. These photographs also show the real necessity, as Sarah talked a little bit earlier in the program, about how the library right now, even though a beautiful building, is completely overcrowded and has almost become unusable in the growth for the town and the growth that it continues to, as you see here in these pictures. We then went back to the master plan and recognized that in 2007 the library trustees had proposed constructing a 10,250 square foot building for the approximate cost of $2 million. But rather than just sort of say, okay, that's what we're going to build. We took a look at nationally recognized library programming to decide how big this building would need to be. And as we plugged in the numbers in terms of the size of the town and the size of the volumes and the collections within the library, it started to become evident that if we were building a nationally recognized or national averaged building, the building would need to be 13,569 square feet, as you see down here in this number. However, this being Kingston and not a nationally averaged building, we took the Kingston approach. And the Kingston approach was to actually measure all of the linear feet of shelving per collection that exists now in the current library. We then coupled that with the book budgets that you spend every year to buy new books. We also took into consideration how many of those books are culled and how many of those books remain in storage. And what we have here is basically your current, as you see in this column here, we have the current linear feet of bookshelves. And then we took a 20-year plan and said, what if we added materials to this collection for 20 years, and then after 20 years we begin culling the books, which is traditionally done in these libraries, to come up with a final plan that would bring us into the generations to come, hopefully a 30 or 40 to 50-year building. Based on the linear feet of bookshelves that you need for the books themselves, we also talked about having a story and crafts room, some lobby space, a library programming space, staff areas, and basically seating areas to accommodate all the people who will be using the new building to come up with a final program. We then took a look at the site. The site is on the corner of Church Street, right across the street from the Carriagetown Plaza. And this is the plan that was used when this site was actually purchased by the town, I believe in 2000 or 2001, for the purpose of constructing a library. This is an aerial photograph, and these are the approaches from the south and from across the street from the Carriagetown Plaza Bank, as well as from the north. So you can see that this is going to be very visible as people enter the town of Kingston.